Today on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, the final mock draft of the year.
Football's coming.
It's time for Garbage Time. Welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Like I said at the top, we've got our final mock draft episode, and we're going to come straight with this one. No sabotages. We want you to be the most prepared you could possibly be for the final weekend of drafts.
We've given you plenty of messing around to get ready for it, so they need to know by now, Ron. Get these final notes in and do a good draft this weekend.
I am the host, the best host, the only host. You got the real deal this time. I am Ron. And I'm joined today by the fake host, Joe. How are you doing today, Joe?
That's a bunch of bullshit he just gave out here. I'm the much better host, and you can shut your damn mouth over that. And what are we getting into tonight, Ron?
Other than the mock draft, we're going to do some news. We ready for that news drop?
Yeah, it's dropped off a little bit, but we got some things for you.
News.
News updates.
Oh.
Yeah. You claim you hated that drop so much, but you dance to it every single time now that you have the actual image popped up in front of you.
The image does make it so much better.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, you're just nothing but bullshit. You're bullshit coming in on your entrance. You're bullshit on these segments now, too.
Nah.
Obviously, the viewers missed it so much. But anyway, into the news. So we'll talk about something you did in our league of play this year. So Falcons ended up signing Wayne Gallman to be the backup for Mike Davis, which was an interesting decision considering they ended up cutting Olsen, who was his backup the entire summer. Obviously, Davis is going to be the backcourt. Is going to be the back core in this situation. I meant the workhorse. Happy Friday, everyone. He's going to be the workhorse in this situation. And should Davis go down, obviously Gallman would be in for a lot of work. What do you think about that in my talk of horrors?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no, I'm crying already.
Aren't you so happy to be back?
Beginning of the show, I'm crying already. Look, I think Wayne Gallman has every opportunity to steal this job away from Mike Davis. Mike Davis had a stretch last year where, yes, he was very good, but he broke down. I picked him up on some of my teams, and there was a good 5 weeks where, yeah, he was phenomenal. But then he started wearing down. He wasn't as explosive. He's getting older. Wayne Gallman, in relief of Saquon Barkley last year, did very well. By no means was he like world breaker or anything like that, but he was very good behind a very suspect Giants offensive line. Atlanta's offensive line is pretty decent.
So, Ron, getting into this then too, would you call Gallman the best handcuff in the entire league, except for Kareem Hunt right now?
I feel there's a couple that are above him that, could, with injury, end up being really good. Like Tony Pollard. If Zeke was to go down, Tony Pollard would be huge. I don't think Wayne Gallman is the same talent as Tony Pollard.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that Gallman is better than Mike Davis.
Is it a better situation to pick him up late as opposed to someone in the Green Bay backfield? Should their top running back go down?
Nope. A.J. Dillon would be still a better pick. Listen, end of the draft, like you said, I went in and in our dynasty and in our keeper auction draft, I went in and I picked up Wayne Gallman in both those leagues. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I feel like there's a chance that he could take over. I doubt it'll be week 1. I doubt it'll be week 2 just because he's just getting there. He's got to learn the offense.
He does have to learn, and I'm sorry, Wayne, you are not a whore. But getting into this a little bit more, though, too, I disagreed on a statement that you made that he's going to end up taking the job for Davis. I understand Davis didn't stay completely healthy the entire season last year, but he's got the opportunity to be the workhorse back in this, and I believe he will be because they're not very deep at that position. If you look behind him, The only back they've got is Cordell Patterson, and he's not a running back. He's a wide receiver. So he's a special teamer and a wide receiver. So, catch of all. I think they're going to need to keep one of these guys healthy, and I understand you stash people on your practice squad, but these are the only two on this team right now, and I think they're going to want to keep one of them healthy. And I think they may end up stashing Gallman. He's not going to do anything early in the season, and I think they're going to have the workhorse back be there unless there's an injury. Do I think it's a good pickup? Do I think it's a good pickup from you? Absolutely, I do. Should he go down, because then you have a number one starting running back, and he could be a running back too. But that's to be determined. If Davis was to go down, will he take the job from him? I don't believe so.
I just believe at most it'll end up being a split backfield. I think that they're going to give, they're going to want Mike Davis. They seen what happened last year with Mike Davis, like how he broke down. That's why they went and got Wayne Gallman. Like, they knew they weren't going to be able to do it with Quadre Olson. Like, he wasn't the guy that was going to be able to come in there and take some of the pressure off of Mike Davis. Wayne Gallman is that guy. He showed it last year.
I'm just surprised that they actually caught him, though, and didn't look to add somewhere else, another position. I mean, he wasn't a bad back. I feel like he would have been a decent fit there, and he was a good change of pace back. But they just flat out released him, so obviously they weren't impressed with him.
And the fact that they also cut Quadre Olson is part of the reason I like Wayne Gallman so much.
They must have liked what they've seen.
Yeah. So I just feel like week 4, week 5, this could be Gallman's backfield. It still probably will be a somewhat of a committee, but I feel by week 4, week 5, it'll be a 60-40 split in Gallman's favor.
So you heard that, our fantasy drafters. Keep that in mind when you're looking at your last round, and you might want to look up picking up someone, and maybe Gallman's looking at your face. It's not a bad pickup potentially if you're looking for running backs. All right, so on to our next bit of news too. Royce Freeman was also picked up the Panthers but he's going to be behind CMC and Chuba Hubbard, I believe. So I don't think this pickup is going to really do anything right now, and Royce Freeman hasn't done anything in a few years.
Yeah. No, if he would have went, I heard that the Ravens also put in a waiver claim on Royce Freeman.
That was interesting considering they were talking up Gus Edwards so much after the J.K. Dobbins injury.
They've always liked to use multiple running backs, and I mean like 3. Like last year before Ingram got hurt and ended up just losing that job, they were using Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram.
They wish they had Melvin Ingram.
And J.K. Dobbins. So.
Yeah, that might be indicative of them just not having a lot of faith in Justice Hill, which they haven't really done anything with, which is why they've been taking running backs early in drafts now.
Yeah.
They haven't cut him yet, but he just kind of seems like back of the roster fodder at this point. All right, on to our next bit of news, too. The Buccaneers running back situation over the last week has kind of gotten a little bit more interesting with Gio Bernard's injury. I like to avoid this backfield like the plague right now. He's expected to miss week 1 with what was called a mild high ankle sprain, whatever the hell that means. It's an ankle sprain, nonetheless. But what it sounds like is Fournette might actually get a little bit more work based on this, because both these running backs are really bad out of the backfield catching. But someone needs to catch those passes, and I think Fournette might have a little bit better hands there for that. Thoughts?
Yeah, I still believe that they want to try to do what they did last year, where Fournette mostly rode the bench the regular season, and then come playoff times, it was playoff Lenny.
So do you think Ronald Jones could be in for a good week 1 then?
No, I still think that they'll sprinkle Fournette in there. Well, they're playing the Cowboys, so I mean, probably someone is going to be in for a good week 1.
Good thought.
I mean, it would not shock me if we start this opening year with like
this opening year that opens.
Yeah, you know what I meant. This opening year with a game that starts where combined total of points is like 90.
Well, at least you didn't call an NFL player a whore, so that's
right. Yeah. I mean, we don't know how we don't believe Wayne Gallman is a whore, but I mean, we don't know him personally.
No, that's right. But you can do whatever you want to do in your free time, man.
Right,
We don't judge here at Garbage.
No judgment. No judgment.
Absolutely not. That just kind of.
If I was better looking, I might be a whore.
All right, on to our next bit of news too. something that might be fantasy relevant later on for waivers. I kind of found this as a very interesting move. Was Jacob Hollister was picked up by the Jaguars, who have absolutely no tight ends there, and he's a catching specialist for the Jaguars for an offense that might need to score a lot of points because that defense is not going to be very good this year. Do I think Hollister is going to be a top 10 or 12 tight end this year? No, but I think you might be able to flex him out over this year because he is a good option.
Watch the matchups. Mm-hmm. Watch the matchups and watch how often Trevor Lawrence likes to target a tight end. He might be one of those quarterbacks that just doesn't want to target a tight end. We already know that he likes to target his running backs because that's part of the whole reason they went and got Travis Etienne in the draft.
Correct.
So we know that, those are kind of his security blanket. And if he comes out and he's just not targeting tight ends, maybe it's not there. But if he's targeting them and then they get a juicy tight end matchup, he could be a sneaky play that week.
Yeah, definitely an interesting thought. Now let's skate over this next little bit of news because it's irrelevant, and I think JJ would tell us this is irrelevant. Bears signed Brashad Perriman. Take it for what it's worth. He's going to be their fourth wide receiver and deep target. Yeah. Might get one pass for 80 yards on a random game, and it's only going to happen once or twice this season. Just skate right over that. Don't even think about that. A little bit of interesting news. The Athletics' Zach Kiefer reported that Colts coaches want Nyheim Hines to touch the ball more this season, which makes absolutely no damn sense to me considering they have Jonathan Taylor. Why they're saying this is astronomically stupid to me. So what are your thoughts on this quote?
I haven't heard that until this exact moment. That sounds stupid.
That sounds incredibly stupid. And I think it's one of those scary things for Jonathan Taylor.
Well, I think it's one of those things where they're like, oh, we don't want Jonathan Taylor to get worn out and break down, which I understand. Like, running back is probably one of the most physical jobs in the NFL.
Yep.
There's a reason their careers end by the time they're 30 generally.
This is just one more thing to add to the concern that is Jonathan Taylor this season. Potentially, a lot of people talk about top 5 running back with him. But so Carson Wentz is coming back from an injury now. He's got offensive linemen out of injury. Their left tackle is hurt now. And they're talking about giving this running back more potential, which kind of alludes to a fucking committee again, which would be horrible for him. He's talented and they shouldn't do that. I think he's still back end of the first round, running back, early second round material. I think you might disagree with me on that, but he's just not someone I've targeted a lot in drafts.
I feel like in the beginning of the offseason, his draft stock did shoot up really high, like where he was going is the 5th or 6th player off of the board. But end of the first round, I'm more than comfortable taking Jonathan Taylor there. But generally, he's not falling to anyone there because of the early hype. With Nyheim Hines, I think it's one of those things where they don't want Jonathan Taylor breaking down, but it might be one of those things where once Jonathan Taylor's on the field and he's showing them that he is by far the best back on this team, nothing against Nyheim Hines. He is really good. He's a very good football player. He's a better pass catcher, though.
Yeah.
So I still believe that Jonathan Taylor is going to have the between the 20s, first and second down, and goal line work. I feel like, yes, his passing volume might not be the best, but I expect this offense to be very explosive with Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr., and Carson Wentz. And then, of course, Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield. So I feel like they could score a lot of touchdowns. It would not surprise me if Jonathan Taylor ends the season with double-digit touchdowns.
It just scares me because of what we saw last season. I understand that's probably not going to happen, and it's his second year in this offense, but there's a pattern here, and this kind of pattern scares me, and they like Nyheim Hines for some stupid reason. So it's just something to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, and our last little bit of news before we get into this mock draft, because we don't want to give you an insanely long episode, because I know it's your weekend, guys. You got shit to do, right? So anyway, Jameson Crowder's got COVID-19. We do not know his vaccination status, whether he's actually vaccinated or not, which could highly determine if he's actually going to be there for next week. Yeah. If he's vaccinated, he only needs 2 negative days in a row to get back on the field. But if he's not, it's going to be 10 days of quarantining, which is a problem because the game is in 9 days. Should he not play that is a big opportunity for Elijah Moore, who's going to be a every down player in the slot, and that might get him to take that job early. And he is a great late round flyer in drafts.
Yeah, I agree. Jameson Crowder came back. He restructured his deal. They weren't going to keep him on this roster.
No, they weren't.
They liked what they had, and he was completely expendable to them at that price. And then he's like, well, I'll stay and I'll restructure so I'm not costing you guys much money. And they're like, cool. It'd be nice to have that veteran presence with all our young wide receivers we have.
And I completely agree with that too. He saw the writing on the walls and he goes, listen, I'm not going to get this much money at this point in the offseason when he restructured, but I've got the potential to have good stats in this offense, which has a better offensive line now, going for that third contract right now. So he took the best opportunity with him. Is he going to be fantasy relevant this year? Might have a game or two if he stays healthy, but he's also nagging an injury there too. And if Elijah Moore ends up taking over that role, you're going to see him more receptive to those targets, I think, in this offense. There's a lot of mouths to feed there now, which is absolutely love to say.
This is one of those things where, and this Jets offense could be sneaky good this year. Tony Romo, I don't know if you've probably seen this, where he came out and said that Zach Wilson reminded him a little bit of Patrick Mahomes.
Could see him as a top 5 QB. Yeah, I saw it.
And their defense is just taking hit after hit after hit after hit. So their defense is not going to be very good. This could be
they might need to score a shitload.
This could be a sneaky fantasy offense just because they might have to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on it because those Jets receivers are going late too. I believe both of their really high-end ones should be Moore, and their other starting end at the other side are going no earlier than the 10th round. So just keep that in mind, and it's a potentially good starter for you and a good flex play.
Yeah, and
so
we already
good value
in
the Jets wide receiving core.
And we already seen that Zach Wilson was hyper targeting Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Like if the preseason, which I know it's preseason, but if it showed anything, it showed that there's
Corey
a
Davis
chance,
is the one there.
Yeah. And there's a chance that he could be hyper targeted. And the best thing about fantasy football is you want a wide receiver that's getting the targets.
Not bad to get a number 1 wide receiver in the 10th round, guys.
No, it's not.
Especially with that.
Anything else?
No, man. I think we got a mock draft to do for these guys.
We got a mock draft. And if you're a regular listener, I'm sorry, this is not a sabotage one.
Need more people for that.
Yeah, I don't think a sabotage works as well with just 2 people.
Makes no sense for it.
And like we said, it's draft weekend. Like, we want the most accurate depiction that we can get for you guys.
Especially for this, if you're going to be listening to it quick. So let's get that baby up on the screen and let's get this thing going.
All right. So Joe has the number 8 pick. I have the number 11. This is 12 team.
Yes, sir.
PPR.
And if you're listening to this on Spotify or any other platform that we're on, you can go onto YouTube and see the board if you'd like. We're also on TuneIn. Like we said, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Hoping to get on Pandora soon. iHeartRadio. Lots of places you can download us. Share us. Obviously, like this video.
Go to the Apple. Leave a 5-star review.
Please do that.
Yeah.
And leave us damn voicemails or hate mails on www.garbagetimefm.com.
Yeah, we're getting sick of hearing Christian's voice.
Yeah, that's it. We need some other voices that we can sprinkle in there.
We need some other voices.
We can't just get the Angry Christian segment every episode. I mean, we're going to, but
we need to make a video specifically for Angry Christian.
Oh, don't worry. We've got that in the works. Something's going to be happening there.
That's what I like to hear. All right, let's start this draft. Start button. Go.
Let's do it.
Clock. Dalvin Cook with a 101. Alvin Kamara 102. What is happening?
So I think that they're completely out of their minds with that. We got Dalvin Cook off the board first, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry. So at least the top 5 running backs that would typically go off the board there did, but in weird-ass order. You may be drafting in a very rookie league, so potentially I guess this is going to happen, but the top 2 are going to be Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. Kamara is seen as the consensus number 3 right now, especially in PPR leagues, so that leaves me on the board right here. I'm in a really bad spot where there's not a lot of running backs I like. But in this spot, there's 2 I'm looking at. Aaron Jones and Eckler. Eckler is going to be a PPR monster this year. So in this spot here behind Tyreek Hill and where Saquon Barkley was taken, which I actually think is early, I'm going to take Austin Eckler in the 8th spot because of that potential in that offense, and Justin Herbert is going to be a monster. They have a much improved offensive line. That offense is going to be killer this year. So Eckler with the 8th pick.
All right, after Eckler went Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor, and now I am on the clock. Oh, jeez.
You love picking from the 11th spot.
I really hate the end of the round picks. I can't.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is going to happen to people. And listening to the draft, this is what you're going to have to do. And Ron's about to give you that strategy he really hates, I think.
I'm going to go, nope, I'm not doing it.
You're not going, nope. Fine.
I'm going running back. I'm going to go with Najee. I'm going to take the bet on the new kid, see what happens.
If you want to do the no running back strategy and picking tight ends or wide receivers earlier, we have previous mock drafts where you can go and listen to that. JJ has been stuck in that situation a few times, and I know Ron has done it once.
Oh my goodness! All right, now here's the issue. I'm back on the clock with the 202.
Mm-hmm.
2 wide receivers have gone off the board, and they have been Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs, which means Devonte Adams is still sitting there. I want running backs in the first 3 rounds. But at this point,
that's some damn value.
Devonte Adams falling to you, he rarely falls into the second round. So that's almost an instant selection for me at Devonte Adams.
Yeah.
After Devonte Adams went DeAndre Hopkins and DK Metcalf, and Joe is back on the clock.
Well, this is almost an instant selection for me because you like to take running backs early and often. They get hurt very often. Because that shit happened to me in our league fucking last Sunday when J.K. Dobbins went down, and I wasn't caught scrambling because I had more running backs on my roster. I made some smart moves, I think, on the side. Ty Johnson, just saying, could potentially be a number 1. Early anyway, not going to be for the whole season. Anyway, Aaron Jones is staring me in the face. If he's this late into the second round, you freaking take him because he's potentially another PPR monster because Dylan is not a catch in the backfield kind of back. So I'm going to take Aaron Jones with this pick in the second round.
I love that pick. After Aaron Jones went Antonio Gibson, our first quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, A.J. Brown, Joe Mixon, George Kittle, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Allen, Darren Waller, Chris Carson, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery in the third round, and back up to Joe.
All right, this puts me into the third round now, and I'm going to start looking at wide receivers here, and both best overall ones here. There's 2 of the potential spot that I like, but there's one really deadly obvious one here, which is McLaurin on the way the wide receivers have fallen right here. I think with Fitzpatrick winning that job, he's going to have an absolutely fantastic season. And Ron has been on him the whole offseason.
A little bit too high there for a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he was a little bit stoned on him. He was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So in the spot, I'm more than happy to take McLaurin here as my number 1 wide receiver. I think he's got good upside. Could he crash? There's a little bit of a risk for that. If you were kind of a little bit more wishy-washy in that spot, Allen Robinson's still here on the board. You could potentially take him here too. But I like the upside. You take upside in the first 3 rounds because that's what helps you win leagues. So Terry McLaurin with the pick in the third round.
All right, after McLaurin went DeAndre Swift and Lamar Jackson, leaving me back on the clock. This right here is why I like to take running backs early. The ones available to me are James Robinson, Miles Sanders, Darrell Henderson, and Kareem Hunt would be the top ones. I might go another wide receiver here. Actually, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take Kyler Murray here.
Okay.
I do like getting one of those top quarterbacks, depending on how my team is built. I feel like now I have a potential top 5 quarterback, running back, and wide receiver on my team, which isn't a bad start. After I took Kyler Murray, Allen Robinson went, and then James Robinson went, which I was kind of hoping James Robinson would fall to me here.
Right, but let me point something else here. This would be the typical no running back early strategy, which you have written a great article on, which I suggest people go and read. It's not a bad idea to read that before the weekend, which is on our website at www.garbageTimeFF.com. Travis Kelce was taken first by Team 12. They then took Stephon Diggs and Allen Robinson, so they are stacked at those positions. But then James Robinson fell to them in the 4th round, which is a very good running back 2 right now with running back one upside right on that border. So that team is looking pretty good right now, but they're going to be still scrambling for running backs later. But so you have to pick your spots and know which ones you want. So be careful doing that.
All right. And sitting here, I would really love to get another running back. But again, I don't see the value here. I'm out on Miles Sanders. Darrell Henderson's all right, but still kind of scares me with Sony Michel coming in. I still feel like it's Darrell Henderson's job, but he's also got injury risk. I don't know if I want that here. I'm not ready to take that injury risk. So I'm going to go back to wide receiver here.
Okay.
There's Mike Evans at the top of this list here. I don't like Mike Evans this year. I think he'll have his games, but I think Antonio Brown, we've talked about it. Mm-hmm. I really believe he's the one to own. Julio Jones, I'm not out, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take the upside. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb out of this offense that should be extremely explosive and is going to have to throw the ball a lot. So he could be, again, potentially a top 5 wide receiver. So the value here in the 4th round, I'm going to take him.
All right. I like that pick there because, like I said, upside, someone that could potentially be a good wide receiver one. All right. So I'm on the clock here, right?
Yep. Mike Evans and Miles Sanders went right before you.
Okay. So typically here, I'm going to go with the plain and obvious here. And I think there is a plain and obvious here. I take running backs early and often. Henderson's there. I understand that there was another running back traded from New England. But I think Henderson is going to get the majority of the work. And I think that this is the kind of offense that could actually work with 2 running backs. I think he's a decent value here in the 4th round, and should one of my top 2 guys down, I can slide Henderson in. I'm not really worried about that injury he just occurred to. I believe it was his finger, correct? Or his hand?
Henderson?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Regardless, it's completely out of my mind, so I don't think it was very significant. So I'm going to take Darrell Henderson in the spot. Stack your running backs early and often because you may end up with a J.K. Dobbins injury like happened to me.
That's right. After Henderson went Kupp, Mark Andrews, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Robert Woods, Kyle Pitts, DJ Moore, Julio Jones, Justin Herbert, Tyler Lockett, Jamar Chase, Russell Wilson, Myles Gaskin, Adam Thielen. Joe is on the clock. I want to highlight Julio Jones on this one because I know he was up there in the top 3 on the list here on Sleeper when I was up to pick at the 402.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I feel much happier about that pick of taking CD over him.
Yep.
Because now I feel like that would have been more of a reach with Julio than it would have been with CD.
I think there's a lot more upside with CD this season. Julio could have a fantastic season with that Tennessee offense. But anyway, we'll get back to one of my true sleeper, and I think could be a league winner this year. I ended up taking him in our auction draft, Brandon Aiyuk. I understand he is a little bit banged up going into this, but the games that he played last year, he was shown to be an alpha dog in that 49ers offense, which I think is going to explode everywhere this season. I think that team is in for a very good season. So I'm taking Brandon Aiyuk in this spot in the 5th round. He's been rising up boards. Originally, he was somewhere between that 6th to 8th round, anywhere. But yeah, taking him here, and I'm very happy with that pick.
All right, so my first pick here, I'm going to go back to the running back. The wide receivers is kind of dried up a little bit. There's plenty of value still out there, but at this point, it's my 5th pick. I've only got 1 running back. Mm-hmm. I will never lean into the full no RB. I hate it. But at this point, there's a lot of prospects. There's a lot of people with question marks. But I am going to take Gus Edwards here.
That would be the obvious pick here,
he could have a great year. I'm still worried if they bring in someone else, it could still happen. However, as of right now, I would take Gus Edwards in the 5th round. Could be an absolute steal.
They were looking at Gurley, but they haven't brought him in. If they were going to bring him in, I think they would have brought him in at this point. So they'll see what they got for release week 1 and maybe reconsider. Right. After that, I believe, where were we with picks?
Yeah, after I took Gus Edwards, Deontay Johnson, and Aaron Rodgers went.
Okay. And you're back on the clock.
I'm back on the clock. I'm going to take another running back here. I do believe this person could lose their job throughout the year.
That's reassuring in this round.
Yeah. But however, when he does have the job, he is electric. He plays for one of the top rushing offenses in the league, and he's crazy fast. I like Raheem Mostert, and if I'm lucky, maybe I'll pair him with Trey Sermon later.
I hate that pick because you should be taking Trey Sermon higher than him because he never stays healthy. He's never played more than 9 games in a season, so I don't think he's going to keep that job that long, and he's a high injury day. So I'm going to flat out tell you, I hate that pick.
If I can get both of them, though, and just lock up that backfield, that's
then
a
you're
backfield.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But that is a very high risk. I would not have taken him this high because I would have let another team taken him and gone somewhere else. But I get what you're doing there. So after that, Mostert, Claypool went off the board, which kind of sucks because I was looking to target him there, and Michael Thomas, which avoid the hell out of this season because you're not going to have him to the playoffs this year. That is
no. He's only on the pup, so he could come back after week 6. So he could be there week 7.
Oh, great. So he could be there week 7, and he's going to be a decoy for 3 weeks because he's not going to be healthy. So
if you have an IR spot, I'm completely okay with you taking Michael Thomas at the end of the draft. Let's look at other wide receivers at the moment. Let's break this down real quick. Odell Beckham. T. Higgins is sitting there. Draft T. Higgins right there.
Yep. But I've already taken 2 wide receivers at this point, too. So I'm going to take Mr. 6,000 yards last season before injury, Mr. Prescott. So Prescott with that pick.
Prescott, Javonte Williams, Odell Beckham, Mike Davis, Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, Juju, Kenny Galladay, Devonta Smith.
Which is a high riser, number 1 wide receiver for the Eagles, and is going to be in for a very good year as a rookie, I think. Anyway, so I am back on the clock in this spot.
Oh, I wasn't done. DJ Chark, Chase Edmonds, Tom Brady, Noah Fant.
Melvin Gordon, who is starting to look good, and they seem to like him in Denver, which they didn't last season, which was kind of weird.
Robbie Anderson. Okay, here's what this popped into my mind the other day.
Okay.
We already know Denver, they want to run the ball a lot. However, if the Ravens were to come asking for Melvin Gordon, like Melvin Gordon on that Ravens team could be phenomenal.
He could be.
And it's one of those things where it's almost like, how are the Ravens missing this? Because you could probably get him for 4th round pick. Round pick?
Maybe a 5th round pick because that is a big contract too.
Yeah. So you just lost your stud running back that you were big praise for all offseason. Melvin Gordon's there. Melvin Gordon still looks good. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where from the outsider's perspective, it's like, how are they not doing it?
And with that thought, I'm going to jump down the board with me because I've got 2 wide receivers currently, and this guy's been actually going up the board too because people are starting to pick up on this. Antonio Brown, listen, he was being taken in the 10th round in a lot of things. Sleeper is starting to rate him higher, and this weekend it might be very hard to get him in the 10th round. So I am here sitting in the 7th round, and I'm going to take Antonio Brown because I really believe in him. So Antonio Brown in the 7th round.
I like it. I love it. All right. Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, Courtland Sutton. I'm on the clock. I just took Raheem Mostert last round, and I said I wanted to pair him with Trey Sermon. Right?
Yes.
Now, draft awareness right here. I thought about waiting until after the turn and trying to pick him up next round. However, Team 12 has 1 running back on their roster. That means he's got 2 picks. Chances are he could go running back. The top 2 left on the board, Ronald Jones, Trey Sermon. So it may be a slight reach, which I really don't believe it is, but I'm going to lock up that San Francisco 49er backfield, take Trey Sermon.
And they just made a horrible selection with Ronald Jones. Committee, do not take Ronald Jones in that spot. Next was Debo Samuel. Not so bad of a pick, although I believe Naiyuku is going to be better, and that puts you back on the clock.
And I'm going to go running back again. I mean, normally this is where I like to load up on my wide receivers, but normally I go running back heavy in the first 2 rounds. I've got Devonte Adams and CeeDee Lamb as my wide receivers. I could take shots later. Mm-hmm. I need more depth in case of, I like the running backs I got, but they all have question marks. Gus Edwards, could they bring someone else in? Raheem Mostert and Trey Sermon, who's actually the starter? is it going to be a committee that's just frustrating all around? I'm going to take someone who's a little bit more solid, could potentially get more passing work now that Cam Newton got released, and might lose some goal line carries to Ramondre Stevenson. However, I think he is
one.
I believe that. I believe he could still even finish at the back half of the wide receiver ones. I don't see a pathway for him to get like top 5, top 8, but between somewhere like 10 and 15, oh yeah, definitely. After I took Damian Harris, we got Jalen Waddle, who's been rising, and Dallas Goedert, who I've been fading. And then Joe's on the clock.
And with that, I am going to take Corey Davis in this spot because he is being hyper-targeted by his rookie quarterback. He's going to get a big passing volume of work. He could be the kind of guy that you could see being drafted here in this range, 7th, 8th round, and very well be picked in the 3rd or 4th round next year. I truly believe that. So I'm taking Corey Davis in this spot and rounding out my wide receiving core.
Very nice. And Corey Davis, then Jarvis Landry, the Buccaneers defense. James Conner, Michael Carter, Brandon Cooks, Laviska Shenault, Rob Gronkowski, Matthew Stafford, the Rams defense, Tyler Boyd, Robert Tonyan, Michael Pittman, Mike Gesicki, Jalen Hurts. And Joe is on the clock.
And boys, I'm taking Tyler Higbee because you can't take him. So Tyler Higbee in that round being my tight end again.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Tyler Higbee, Trevor Lawrence, Kenyon Drake, and I'm on the clock.
Lawrence is rising up draft boards.
I don't like it.
I don't either. I think he can be good in week 1, and I've told you that in the last episode. But I don't think season long is going to be a good QB.
All right, so I'm looking at the wide receivers here. I need to start getting some more wide receivers. I think I got my running back spot fairly lined up. I need to get a little bit more depth at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the top ones. Will Fuller, suspended week 1, may be pretty good for the rest of the season. But outside of last year, he struggled with injury, and he didn't struggle with injury last year, but then also tested positive for PED. So it's like,
oh yeah,
that one's that. Like, I don't want to say that's the reason because I have no idea, but like, it's really weird. Mike Williams, I don't know. Curtis Samuel. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick loves. What do you mean no?
No, I would sabotage you. You're going to sabotage yourself. He's been hurt the whole training camp, dude. I wouldn't do that. I mean, if you're more than happy to, you can. This is your team, but Curtis Samuel, I would avoid. He's off my board.
He's scheduled to return to full team workout on Monday.
Ugh. He's banged up though, and that's don't chase injuries.
I just closed out my draft.
No! What is he gonna do? His time's gonna expire.
Probably.
Anyway, I'll talk about it a little bit more then. So he's been injured the whole offseason, hasn't been getting work with that offense too. I just don't feel comfortable with him, and I've thrown him completely off my draft board. I don't even look his direction right now. I believe he'd be chasing an injury with him. Just someone I think to avoid in drafts. Around this kind of a target, you were looking at Samuel. I think there's better wide receivers here. I like Williams. Doesn't have a good ability to stay healthy. Brown is the number 1 with Baltimore, and there's a lot of hurt targets there right now, and he returned healthy finally. Gallup is a bigger piece, and there's Darnell Mooney there. Darnell Mooney could potentially be a 1,000-yard wide receiver, so when you get your thing up, you may want to take Darnell Mooney instead of him.
I don't know if you noticed this, but I have this pick, and then in 3 more picks, I have another pick.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
So what I'm going to take is I'm going to take Curtis Samuel here because Ryan Fitzpatrick has always supported 2 wide receivers. And
not if
he can stay healthy, right, but he's going to be back in practice on Monday. And you just said Marquise Hollywood-Brown finally is healthy because, well, he's injured all of the time.
But he also hasn't been hurt the entire training camp. He's just a little bug where you haven't seen your guy the entire training camp at all.
I'm fine with it. And then all in this pick, I will take Darnell Mooney because he does have the chance to be a 1,000-yard receiver. And I like the upside there. So, boop, Darnell Mooney.
On his team.
On my team. After that went Logan Thomas and then Will Fuller, and Joe's on the clock.
And with that, I need to round out my running back. So I'm going to take someone who I see as a shitty running back number 1 in a committee here. in the Bills offense. So Zach Moss is my fourth running back. Hopefully he will not have to touch the field, but you need running backs. So I'm going to take Zach Moss in this spot.
You're going to give me shit for taking Curtis Samuel and you're going to take Zach Moss?
I am going to take Zach Moss.
How many times did they run the ball in their preseason game in the first quarter?
Hell of a lot not. And the
Zero.
app is frozen on my screen, so why am I not allowed to pick? I'm going to close out of this. So why don't you dive into why I'm not going to be able to take Zach Moss in this spot, or why I shouldn't take Zach Moss in this spot?
You shouldn't take Zach Moss because the Bills are going to pass first, pass second, and pass third.
So what you're saying is they're going to be the Kansas City Chiefs of the East.
Yes. I would not be shocked if they go through most games. If they average 15 rushes a game, but most of them are from Josh Allen.
That is a good point. But like I said, I'm taking a chance this late, so that's what I'm going to do. And guess what? You don't like it? Too bad.
I would have took A.J. Dillon.
Well, I also still haven't picked, so that is a good consideration. And it's nice that I'm not frozen anymore and back on the clock here. I'm going to look down the board a little bit more, but no, I'm going to stick to my initial gut and stick with Zach Moss because you do need to run the ball a little bit. I understand that Josh Allen is also the red zone target, but he's the fourth running back in the spot. So my team, Zach Moss.
Right after Zach Moss went the correct pick in A.J. Dillon. Mike Williams, Ryan Tannehill, the Washington football team's defense. Duke Johnson, Devin Singletary, Naheem Hines, Steelers defense. Marquise Hollywood Brown, a full 2 rounds after I was told I should have took him. Michael Gallup, Henry Ruggs, the Browns defense. Jamal Williams from the Detroit Lions, the 49ers defense, and Joe was on the clock.
Taking Elijah Moore, who could potentially be, according to some analysts, an 1,100-yard wide receiver. That is lofty goals. I don't see him getting more than 900, but please, 1,100 yards. I would love that.
In the 11th round, I love that pick. Buffalo Bills defense, Baker Mayfield, and I am on the clock. Back to the wide receiver well because I need him. I've kind of like Marvin Jones most of the season. I've kind of been fading on him a little bit more. I don't know if it has to do with the injuries or if my trust in the Jacksonville offense is just overall going down. I'm going to pass on him here, and I'm going to take upside with Marquis Callaway from New Orleans. Pretty much the only guy there with Jameis Winston, who we know likes to throw the ball.
Callaway could be a steal, and he's the number one option in that state's offense until their injured Thomas comes back.
Right. Mecole Hardman, Hunter Henry went after that, and I'm back on the clock.
Mecole Hardman is going to be a bust this year. Don't even look his way. He is a fake-ass number 2 wide receiver, which has never been produceful in the Chiefs offense. So don't touch him.
Right. All right, I'm going to take some more upside here. I've been on this guy all offseason. I think he could have a huge part in this offense. I think this offense could have to throw the ball out. Their defense isn't great. I'm taking Russell Gage from the Atlanta Falcons. I get him in most drafts. And I think, like Darnell Mooney, he could end up with over 1,000 yards. Maybe not have the touchdown because I know Calvin Ridley is the touchdown guy. But this late in draft as my 6th wide receiver, that's almost an instant select for me. After that went Tony Pollard, Deshaun Watson, and Joe was on the clock.
Don't pick Deshaun Watson. He's not going to even play this year. I'm going to take another guy. I'm going to let marinate on the vet.
Hold on.
Do not take him. And
No. I hear what you're saying. If you do want to take him, you can wait till your last round for one.
Yep, but do not take him here.
He's not suspended. He could play.
He's not going to play. They're not even going to trade him. He's going to sit on their bench and do nothing. Yes, he will.
Could this be the biggest rope and dope in football history?
No,
where they're telling everybody,
no.
Prepare for Tyrod Taylor. Prepare for this.
It is too much of a PR issue with them right now. He shit on the team. And he's got all that stuff going on. They do not want that in
Texans. They don't give a shit about PR. They have Bill O'Brien as their GM and head coach for years.
And a holy man as a GM. Believe me, they're not going to bring the tainted quarterback into play. No, it's going to be Tyrod Taylor. So just ignore
If
that.
they can
Tyrod,
that-
stay away from your doctor. Okay, we do not want you playing. We do not want you listening to the doctor. But don't worry, Watson's not going to take your job. If he gets traded to Miami, potentially maybe, but Miami's not going to go that direction. I don't think because they're not going to give up 3 first-round picks in 2 seconds for him.
And
that's insane. He's not going to play
this
until next year.
preseason. Tua has looked good this preseason.
Oh, he's going to suck, dude. Like, don't.
Get off of that. Get off of that.
That is just bullshit. He's going to suck. Oh. Great. Now everyone in their car's got to turn down the volume because of that bullshit you did. So anyway, let's talk about another quarterback I'm going to take in this spot. It's someone you can let marinate. He's not going to play, I believe, week 1. He might in sub packages, but it's Trey Lance. That 49ers offense is absolutely fantastic, and I love taking him in all of our mock drafts because I've got a quarterback that can start, but guess what? This guy's got running upside and can potentially be better than Dak Prescott. Yes, I said it, potentially. I don't know if he will be or not, but I think he really could be. So Trey Lance in this spot because it's a late-round flyer. Why the hell not?
All right, here's my thing with drafting 2 quarterbacks. Generally, I don't like doing it. However, the way you did it, you ended up getting Dak Prescott on what I perceive as a huge discount in the 7th, 6th round.
Yes, sir.
So the fact that you took someone with rushing upside late in the draft is amazing. That was a great pick. I'd give you so much props for that. I took Kyler Murray in the 3rd round, which means my team suffered more because I wasn't taking a top-notch running back. I wasn't taking a wide receiver. So come later in my draft, I can't do that because I need the positions. I need the other positions more than I need a second quarterback. So I like the way both of us are playing this draft at the moment in regards to the QB position.
That's right. We're geniuses. So on what I believe is my pick again, correct?
Yep.
So in this spot, I'm going to take someone who is a number 1 wide receiver who is kind of under the radar. He's starting to come out of those flames, so pay attention and take him a little bit earlier than this. Hint, hint, because boards are not going to run like this with computers. Jakobi Meyers, he's going to get a lot of targets with New England, and now that Mac Jones is his quarterback, look for those numbers to be sky high. So Jakobi Meyers with this pick.
I love it. All right, and I am on the clock, and now I'm just going to kind of look for upside. Do I have a tight end?
You might want to look.
You took Tyler Higbee on me. Nope. I'll fade tight end until probably the last round at this point.
You gonna rope a dope that shit and do something else?
Yeah.
What are we doing, Ron?
I really don't know. Honestly, this is the part of the draft where it gets real hard.
But you should still go quick because I don't have a cord for this computer. So
oh my goodness,
quick?
I'm trying.
Yeah, guys, bring a cord that charges your laptop to your draft, or it's going to be a bad time.
Yeah, you're not going to have a good time.
That is a fail on my part, but we will get through this without this computer dying.
I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Out of the people left on the top of the wide receiver board, I feel like he has the best chance for over 100 targets this year.
And I mean, someone out there in Detroit has to play, so why not?
Right. Nelson Aguilar went after that, then Kenneth Gainwell, and now I'm back on the clock. I'm going to take the shot. I know he's on the PUP list at the moment. So if you have an injured reserve slot, which most of my leagues do, I will take the shot in Rashad Bateman here and see what happens after he comes back and see how he does with his target share. Then it went Rondale Moore and Alexander Madison, who is another great handcuff. Then Joe's on the clock.
I'm going to take my chance on a guy that could be have a lot of boom bust potential. He's in a backfield that I don't necessarily like because backfields in this team are rough, usually committee style, but he is talented as hell. Stevenson from New England. It's a good flyer this late. He's a rookie. There's an injury. He's the number 1 guy, and he has shown flash. So Stevenson in the second to last round.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick.
Ramondre Stevenson, by the way. So, yes, I do know his first name.
Wait, are we in the second? Wait, what round?
We're in the second to last round, aren't we? No, we are in the last round, I believe.
Whoops, I don't have a tight end or a defense. It allows for this.
Well, it's okay. I guess you're going to have to get him on waivers. So, yeah, this is another thing, too, guys. Watch this shit in your draft, too, because you don't want to mess up and not do that. It's okay, though, because if you are playing the waivers, It's all right to draft not in those positions because you don't necessarily need to fill them out unless that's the rules of your commissioner. So make moves later if you're into this point. But Ron, that's not the worst strategy in the world.
Well, if your league doesn't make it so you have to draft your entire offensive positions or your entire starting lineup, then yeah, I will probably fade on tight end specifically. I will go and I will look at matchups and see what's best on the waiver wire with the matchup and go from there. Generally, I like to go with someone like, I don't know, Tyler Higbee, but I kind of got destroyed on that one.
Yeah, you're welcome for that.
So I can't do that.
So anyway, someone that actually paid attention to their draft this time and got all the positions they needed is going to take a defense now. And the defense I'm looking at is New England Patriots defense. I take them almost every single mock draft. They're going to have a fantastic year. They're getting 5 starters back to a defense that wasn't bad without those 5 starters. And a lot of them are Pro Bowl caliber, man. So in a very young division with young QBs outside of Josh Allen, the other 2 were kind of question marks. We don't know what Zach Wilson's going to do. He's got a lot of upside. And personally, I think Tua is going to suck ass this year. Ron would disagree, but I think Tua is going to suck ass. So guess what? I'm taking the New England defense because they have high upside this year.
That is a very good defense to pick. Jalen Rigger, Rashad Penny. I am on the clock. I will take a defense. I will take the Chargers defense. I was really high on them going in the last year, and then injuries just totally derailed all of that.
Ron, now that this draft is done and you're playing the waivers with tight end, what would you look to do after this draft?
So, a couple interesting names. Adam Troutman out of New Orleans, just because there's not a lot there, but I know he's been injured, so I'd have to look at that. Cole Kmet from the Bears is a big one that I would look at. Or I might look at possibly taking a flyer on Pat Freiermuth.
Which is tough because this is
it's a rookie tight end.
I think I would look at Everett in this spot, dude.
Gerald Everett, yep. Also Anthony Ferkser from the Titans. He's taken over the Jonnu Smith role. There's people out there that I could, I would look more into the matchups, see where teams finished last year against the tight end. I would look at what additions they may have made on the defense that could sway those numbers.
Yeah.
Like if they brought in a really good coverage linebacker, I might go away from that position, like that streaming option. But offhand, I haven't really looked at all that stuff yet. So
Freiermuth is a good pick in dynasty leagues this year because I think he's going to be a big dirty weapon for the Steelers a few years down the line. That depends on how long Roethlisberger is going to play, though, and if they continue that being a passing game. But he looks talented. So not a bad pick for your dynasty teams.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to run down my team now, and I think we can, and then we'll get the hell out of here because it's a Friday night round, and we got shit to do. So running with my team from the 8th spot, I've got Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, PPR nightmares in the leagues. Terry McLaurin, a decent number 1 with good upside. Darrell Henderson, a little bit shady with Sony Michel coming in there now, but I think he's a good, decent third running back for you. Brandon Naiyuku, I think, is going to have league-winning upside for you this year. He's going under the radar for a lot of people, but people are starting to learn what he's going to be doing this offseason as a second-year wide receiver on a rise with a pattern of other players like CeeDee Lamb. So Brandon Ayuk in that spec, Dak Prescott in a great value in the 6th round. Antonio Brown also rising up boards, who was potentially in the 10th round before, but is now rising, especially in sleeper drafts. After that, I've got Corey Davis, who's going to be the true number 1 of the Jets. I stole Higbee from Ron in the next round. Zach Moss, which he was his most hated pick of mine. But like I said, 4th running back here, so I'm going to take my chance with him in this spot. Elijah Moore, I think, is a good steal in this round. Could potentially be a very good wide receiver for the Jets as well. No homerism here. I actually do think they can have a good offense here. Trey Lance, who's going to marinate on the bench for me a little bit. Should Dak go down and Lance be hurt, I can always get a quarterback off wide receiver. In this spot here, there was a few, I believe. Fitzpatrick's there. Big Ben's there. Zach Wilson's there. I mean, there was 3 guys I could potentially play should anyone go down, and Trey Lance isn't playing yet. But he could win you your league later in the season, and I truly believe that. And leaving off from that spot, too, Jakobi Meyers, excellent late-round pick, I think. Ramondre Stevenson, also a good pick for the New England offense. I like taking players late for that team and that thing because I think it's going to be a good offense. And then I'm rounding it out with the New England Patriots defense. Holy shit, I sound like a New England Patriots fan. I swear to God, I'm not.
Man, you really like those Patriots this year.
I do, but I'm a Jets fan. It hurts my heart, but this is fantasy. You need to take what your mind does and not what your heart wants to do.
That's right. Yeah. As you see, I have 0 New York Giants on my team. So I have to say offhand, this is probably my favorite draft that I've ever done I've ended up with when I've drafted this late. Outside of my home league draft, where I drafted at the 9th spot out of 10 teams. And I was able to get Saquon Barkley in the 2nd round. I got Najee Harris, Devonte Adams, Kyler Murray, CeeDee Lamb as my first 4 picks. Two very possible top 5 wide receivers. Rookie running back who hopefully hits like I believe he is. Then after that, I went a little bit running back heavy to make up for that 2nd running back spot with Gus Edwards. I took the entirety of the 49ers backfield with Mostert and Sermon. And then Damian Harris. Right. And then Damian Harris because I need a little bit of steady production, at least in the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. Then I went for my 3rd wide receiver / flex spots. I kind of went wide receiver heavy for pretty much the rest of the draft. Curtis Samuel, Darnell Mooney, Marquis Callaway, Russell Gage, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Rashad Bateman. A lot of flyers in there. But like I said, I was able to do that because I went 2 wide receivers in my first 4 picks and got 2 very top-notch wide receivers there. It allowed me to take a few shots at the end of the draft.
Your Callaway pick was fantastic, and that is a good late round flyer. So, guys, look at this mock draft. Look at our 2 columns. There's a lot of late round flyers you can do. Highlight them on your damn boards because universally across the league, people are starting to figure out these flyers now. Look at the list. Get a few of them. Get a few that you're happy with. You don't want to go into drafts. You don't want to sabotage yourself, as we have shown in formats on this draft, which is unique to our show, the Sabotage Mock Draft. Go back and listen to them if you've got time. They're great. Don't screw yourself. Go in with 2 or 3 people you want in each round. Column them. Figure out a strategy that works for you so you're not going in mindless and screwing up your whole draft.
And you got to remember, when it comes to if you don't go in thinking you're going to do a 0 RB strategy, you've got to do mock drafts. You got to be prepared if you get forced into a 0 RB strategy. It's happened to me in these mock drafts. It's happened to JJ in these mock drafts. Somehow Joe generally gets lucky and Dalvin Cook falls to him, whether he's picking at 1 or 12. But everybody else doesn't get like that. So
he's my boy, man. What can I say?
I was half shocked he didn't fall to pick 8 for you.
Which is ridiculous. That's not going to happen in your drafts.
No.
All right. And I think with that, Ron, I think we're ready to get out of here, correct? Where can you find us?
Yeah, go to www.garbagetimef.com. All of our spots where we're available are listed there. So if you're ever wondering, hey, where can I find these guys? www.garbagetimef.com, and that'll show you exactly where it is. There's Spotify, Apple, soon to be the fake planet Pandora, iTunes, or iHeartRadio, I'm sorry. All over the place. Pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, we're probably there. Google Podcasts, all of them.
Yep.
Remember, make sure you get to our website. Leave us a voicemail or a hate mail. If you want to get on there and just spit obscenities on us for 2 minutes,
we'll put it on the show.
We'll put it on the show. You'll hear your voice.
Christian does it to us all the time.
Yeah.
And we won't call you a whore.
And this was the final mock draft. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do another one.
Next Tuesday. Go ahead.
Our next mock draft will be for the actual NFL draft where we started the Sabotage mock draft. That's where it started. It's got a beautiful roots. I won, and I plan on repeating that next year. So just a little something to look forward to.
And next Tuesday, the show is competing in the Megalabowl.
Monday.
Tuesday.
I thought it was Monday.
It's Tuesday, boo.
You told me Monday earlier.
Tuesday.
We'll see what day we actually start. Yes, we are completing in the Fantasy Footballers Megalabowl. Right now, they are over 10. They're not a sponsor or anything, but we're going to give them this plug for our 3 listeners. You have to subscribe. You have to support them on Patreon. It is over 10,000 people in this fantasy football league. I did one last year. I'm doing my own solo one this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun last year. There's a lot of weird rules because, it's over 10,000 people. If it's something you sound like you might be interested in, fantasy footballers,
join their Patreon and do it.
Join their Patreon. They're amazing. They who inspired me to want to do fantasy football podcast.
They are the real kings of fantasy football.
They are the kings of fantasy football, and they'll never hear this, but like I said, they're the reason I wanted to start doing one. They just have so much fun, and they're so knowledgeable.
Absolutely.
All right, with that love fest that I just ended on, we're going to get out of here.
Good night, guys, and have a good Labor Day.
Later.